everyone, it's been a minute, and if you're new here, which you probably are, then hello, nice to meet you, welcome. My name is Marissa Miller, and I am an indie author, and I have currently published 4 books. The first is a picture book called Chasing Figments. The second is a contemporary fantasy middle grade novel called The Grim and the Fantastic, and the third and fourth books are both part of my When Wicked series, which is a young adult fantasy mashup retelling featuring mashup retellings of Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, and Peter Pan. So I haven't done videos for a while because I kind of just focused on one social media outlet because I was getting a bit overwhelmed and was unsure what to do or how to do anything, and so I just kind of decided to streamline it on one social media platform, and that was Instagram. And now I am branching out, and with the new year coming, I really want to try my best to be taking a business-minded approach to my indie authoring career. So with that being said, I need to put myself out there and be a part of more platforms in order to continue to grow and get to know more people and reach more readers and do all the things. So this is me putting myself out there and adopting the mindset of that if someone happens to see this and watch it and like it, then great. And if not, it serves as a lovely little memory bank of video diaries for me to watch later, and that is okay too. Either way, it's a win-win. So, for my video, today I am going to be talking about some projects that I am working on, but primarily focusing on my When Wicked series Revamp and kind of the ins and outs of that, what I'm changing, why I'm changing it, and all the things. Before the revamp, my little segue topics are that I am working on When Wicked Runs South, which is the 3rd installment of my When Wicked series. I am currently writing chapters for that. I'm working with a developmental editor, critique partner sort of situation, and I think that has been really helpful and fun, and I'm loving that experience, and I think it is overall helping my book be better. So that is good. I did kind of get to a point where I was feeling a little stifled because since working on the When Wicked series as a whole, I kind of got in the mindset that I couldn't work on anything else until I finished this series. So creatively, while working on South, I started feeling stifled, and so that caused me to branch out into working on another series and finally giving myself permission to do that and work on this project outside the When Wicked series at the same time. So I'm working on South still, but I am working on a new series, which I will talk about more at the end of this video. And that's what I'm going to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's get into the revamp. Basically, a revamp is taking something that has already been released and updating, redoing, improving, whatever the like is, of those already released books. So that's what I'm doing, and the elements that I am revamping are my cover designs, my interior layout, and some story elements of my first in the series, which is When Wicked Runs West. So I basically decided to do this revamp because my books were not performing the way that I would like them to, and I had to take a step back and ask myself, why are they not performing the way that I want them to? What elements are impacting their performance, and what can I do to change those from a more marketing perspective? One of the core feedback responses that I got was that my books, though intended for a young adult audience, look like they are for a middle grade audience, which means if I'm promoting them in a young adult arena and they look like they're middle grade, it looks like I'm in the wrong demographic and therefore will be off-putting to that demographic because they think it is for a younger audience. So the reason why people think that the books look younger is because of the design and art style that I chose. Actually, it goes like this. So here's West and here's East. And the art styling on here is kind of a Disney-esque, I've been told, young versions. Alice and Dorothy are supposed to be teenagers and stuff, but I guess they look kind of young in these. And that immediately makes people think, the art styling makes them think that it is for a younger demographic than intended. Basically, with these designs, they had to conform into what I personally am able to produce at a reasonable quality level and be able to redo and continue on in the same style and everything because, as I said, I'm an indie author and I have a limited budget for publishing, so basically everything I do with publishing my book, I do myself. A lot of indie authors will hire out for different services so that they can just deal with the writing and then later the self-promotion and stuff, but so people will hire out for cover design, cover layouts, cover arts, book arts, editing, things like that. I don't hire out for any of that. I do it all myself. So, while that does save me money, it does kind of put me in a little bit of a limitation box of what I can, because I can design whatever I want, right? But actually being able to implement those designs is another matter. It has to be something I can do. So that's where this art styling came from, was me sitting down at my computer with my art tablet and dinking around in Photoshop until I came up with a human design that I thought looked good enough to put on a book. So that's where those designs came from. Also, I had the little elements in these designs before they were gone forever, is that I had the torso and the feet. And the feet on the bottom of the previous book becomes the torso on the next book. So we have Dorothy's feet here, and then we have her torso up here. We have Peter's feet here, which means that one's south. Peter was intended to be on the top. And I actually already had South's cover done because I always put the next book's cover in the back. So like keep watch for, so I always do that. So I actually already had South done, but it will never be released with that cover. So that was one element that I had done in the design. The other design element that I had done was a color scheme. So whatever, this is red with a accent color of yellow. So whatever the accent color was on a book becomes the main color on the next book. So yellow accent becomes yellow background, green accent would then become green background, and then it was going to have a blue accent, which means that north would have been a blue background with a different color accent. So those were the design elements I had in these. Also on the backs, I had like a little kind of tagline thing at the top. I had a description on the back that is the same for both, so it's kind of like a series description, and then it goes into the specific book description at the bottom. And then I have the ISBN and the price. On the sides on the spines I have the numbers, the titles, my author name. Those were the designs. So when I was evaluating the covers, I was looking at doing a new cover design. So I actually ran the idea of this revamp past my indie author friend, Emily Vandervent, and she is a great author for a young adult historical fantasy series, the Crimson Time series, which she just released the sequel to, so it has 2 books now, Crimson Time and Fractured Past. Shameless plug for her because she's amazing. If you want to check her out, you should. If anyone watches this, you should check her out. Anyway, I talked to her because I really respect her and her writing, her books, her kind of author representation out in the social media platform, her marketing eye, all those things. I respect her a lot, so her opinion means a lot to me. And I talked to her about it, and she thought, based on what I was saying, that it wouldn't be a bad idea to do a revamp in the areas that I was talking about. So that kind of gave me that final push to go ahead and do it. So while I was also simultaneously coming up with new cover concepts, she offered to try to do a cover concept as well for me. And by the time she got back to me on it, because I was like, sure, yeah, I'll take all the input I can get, I had also already come up with a cover concept, and so I was kind of looking at what she presented and what I presented and comparing them, and I ended up putting it into a poll on Instagram with my close friends group, so a select amount of people, and having them evaluate it for different things, comparing the 2 different types of covers because they're 2 very different styles, and asking like which one looks more polished and professional, and which one looks, like more young adult, and which one looks, more of this, that, and like what's shareable, what looks like it'd be on a Bookstagram page, what looks like it would look good in like book lay flats or flat lays and stuff, and if you picked Emily's design, then what didn't you like about my design? And if you picked my design, what didn't you like about that design? And what did you like about both? And all those things. And so basically, I took all of the input that I got, and largely people reacted well to my designs. They thought Emily's design was more polished and professional looking, which I agree with. Her design was very crisp and professional, and she tried to continue on my color theme idea and everything, and she used beautiful fonts, and she did like a tagline from the back of the jacket description, the back jacket description on top, and had the layout of the fonts was really good. It all looked very crisp, kind of like I think it's the original covers of the Sarah J. Maas The Court of Thorns and Roses series, like how it's just like a brightly colored book, and then it has like a single item or emblem or whatever design on the front. It was like that. And it looked very polished and good, and it definitely looked older. Whereas mine, I got the feedback that it was looks a little less professional. The hand-drawn elements were making it look younger, and the overall layout of it was kind of busy. One of the other critiques I got for the other design was that it didn't tell you enough about what the story was going to be about. People felt like my design had more like leading you into what the story is going to be about, what type of story this is going to be, whereas the other one was kind of ambiguous. So ultimately what I decided after getting that feedback and really evaluating it too was that I took the critiques for my design and applied them. So I took out the hand-drawn elements and I tightened things up and made it look more polished. And then I took the layout of Emily's design with the fonts and the fonts that she used, because I loved them. Like, I know it's kind of a weird thing, maybe it's just like a designer author thing, but like fonts, there are some good fonts out there. And I used those fonts in the layout and the tagline and all that, and so I ended up kind of merging the two and using basically my artwork but her layout. So I think it ended up being a good hybrid, and I am happy with how they turned out. I'm excited for them. And yeah, I am hoping that they are received well, so I will be revealing those in the near future, and I'm hoping that everyone who hasn't seen them yet outside of my poll group likes them, because I'm pretty fond of them. I've done all 4 covers already in advance, so I'm ready to go. The second thing is the interior. So basically I made the font larger because I was worried that the book was going to be too thin so I made it a little larger than standard, and it makes it look like it's for a younger reader. Otherwise, I like my chapter title layout and all that, my general layout formatting I'm good with. The font size just needs to go down a little bit so that it takes it out of looking like it's for a younger reader. And that will be partially solved by the third element I am revamping, which is adding some story content into West, because originally when I started this series, I started it with a friend and we were doing alternating chapters before I ended up taking it over, and I tried to keep that element alive by having it go Alice, Dorothy, Alice on odds, Dorothy on evens, and keep that like stylistic formatting the same. But in this world where there is a signpost and we have the 4 directions and everything in this world, Alice arrives in it a lot sooner than Dorothy does, and so trying to get those timelines to merge in the book and everything kind of did a disservice to Alice's chapters by having her have to go and alternate with Dorothy's. It just kind of made the pacing a little strange, and universally I've gotten the feedback that Dorothy is kind of a more liked and interesting character over Alice, so that made me reevaluate how can I make Alice a character that evokes some sort of feeling, whether you like her, hate her, whatever, like you need to feel something. Whereas she didn't have, I guess, that kind of depth, that response from readers so far. So I am adding in some chapters to bolster up Alice's, and I think I'm going to deviate from the even odds Alice Dorothy pattern and do a clump of Alice at the beginning and maybe add Dorothy in as it becomes relevant to the timeline spectrum. I don't have any plans to be updating East's interior, so as of right now that'll stay. I added in Peter's perspective in East, so he does odds with Alice, so it goes Alice, Dorothy, Peter, Dorothy, Alice, Dorothy, Peter, Dorothy, and then in book 3 I'm adding in another perspective which is going to show evens with odd, making it Alice, Dorothy, Peter, new character, Alice, Dorothy, Peter, new character. And I like that rhythm because I think it provides guide rails for the reader, but I think it started to become limiting and stifling for the representation of Alice in this first book, and therefore hurt the draw in for readers into the series itself. The final element is that I wanted the books to gain subsequent depth as we went on in the series. And the problem with that is I still like that, but it leads to with the risk of having it be where your reader is not drawn in from book one, because in that model, book one is therefore the shallowest as far as depth goes. So I'm going to be reevaluating that kind of depth ratio and adding in some more elements to that, and hopefully fleshing out the story as a whole and drawing readers in more effectively within the first book so that they can get to the deeper levels of the subsequent books. So those are all the things I am revamping for my series, and why and how, and yeah, I hope that people find that interesting and that they will receive the updated things. As of right now, I will be waiting to submit all the changes on Ingram Spark all at once, so that way once the covers are changed, the interior will be changed and all that, so that way it's all releasing as like a new thing rather than having it released as like, well, this book now version has new covers with the same interior, and then this book now has the interior and the covers changed, and then we have the original. I don't want it to be messy like that. I want it to just be a smooth change. So I'll be doing that all at once when the time comes, and I will update when I know when that time will be. So the last thing to talk about real fast is the new series I am working on, which I'm excited about. I'm not going to talk a lot about it because I would like to reveal information about it in a certain way at a different time. But basically this is a story that started in 2013, and then I used it for a nano project in 2014, and since then it has had various writings and rewritings and adding in historical influences and mirrors and things like that multiple times in the later years and the subsequent years since 2014. And now I have finally given myself permission that I can work on another series while simultaneously working on the Wicked series. And I am in the process of re-world building for this final version of the world that I am pretty content with. And I'm world building, I'm designing a dress for my main character, and I'm working with a design expert and a seamstress to help me. I know how to sew, but like for the guidance and the expertise and everything. And so I will be doing that, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And then otherwise I'm doing free writes right now for that. Later tonight I'm going to be doing a structured outline, but to begin with I was just doing free writes to kind of get the idea of the book's voice and get to know the characters and what I like and don't like about just letting them kind of randomly interact in different scenes and seeing what hits and what doesn't for me. I guess from like I go do my free writes as my writer head, and then I go do my reading as my reader head, and try to evaluate and cram the two together into something better. So I'm at the point now where I need structure, so I'm going to be doing my outline tonight and see where that goes. But that's everything I'm working on. I will talk more about that new series early on in this next year, hopefully. And my revamp will also be releasing, hopefully. New year, new look for the books. I'd like to get on that momentum. And I will continue working on South and release that in the new cover scheme, obviously, and the new formatting scheme. And yeah, those are all the things. So if you got this far into the video, thank you. I appreciate you. And if you would like to support me, help me out by liking this video and subscribing or following on Instagram, I would appreciate it very much. Otherwise, it was lovely talking to you, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.